Right then, another Q7 video. This time we're actually working on the Q7 and not messing about with gearbox and stuff. We're just waiting on the adapter coming back, but that's waiting on me messing about with the flex plate and the starter motor just to be sure that the model that Luke's done's correct. So that might not happen on this video, might happen on the next one. We'll see. This is all about ripping factory crap to bits. But basically, I thought we'd done more filming than we had. But ages ago, it seems, I was messing about rerouting the alternator belt and taking the aircon condenser out of the equation because the pulley's broken and I don't want aircon anyway. So we've put a new belt on, new pulleys where it needed to, and that's all sorted now. I had a go at stopping this leaking, but it didn't work. We're going to have to take this off and weld it, I think, which is crap. Or we'll have to nick one off the other engine. But anyway, the other thing, Paul's just starting to look at the wiring now. So ECU 1 is here. ECU 2 is there, or is that number 1? I'm not too sure. But we're going to take them out and get them bench red, and then we can start doing the tuning work and what, oh, pardon me, and deleting the immobilisers and whatever else we need to do. So one of the other jobs that has been done, I don't know if it's still there. We've took all the interior out so Paul can get to the wiring. Anything that's going to be worth anything is for sale. So if anybody wants anything, we're all good. We're not having any of the gearbox or any of that type of stuff. But what we did find, you just see it down there, done it, a nice bit of rotten cake underneath, see, and it absolutely stinks. So we'll stay away from that. One other thing as well, we changed the strut so that it can move, but then because the Touareg died, I nicked this part off. This is off the Touareg, but I nicked this part off here because it's exactly the same. This is like the valve body. It got wet on the Touareg and then the air just dropped down at the back and ruined my trip to the Lake District. So that it ain't got one of them on at the minute, so it probably won't move anyway. But beforehand we sort of said if the chassis legs weren't bent, we're gonna keep this car, but at that point I'd already decided I didn't want to keep it anyway. So if people are not 100% sure what's going on, this engine and a manual 6-speed T56 Magnum is going in the single cab. So Paul's going to get all this ripped out. Let's get it all thrown in. What we record, I'm not too sure. Maybe when there's a big mass of wiring and Paul stops scratching his head, but we'll see. Paul stayed a little bit later yesterday because every person that walked past here were bugging him, asking what we're doing, why we're doing it, when's it going in, blah de blah. So he stayed late, dug a little bit into some wiring diagrams, but the only wiring diagram we could get, I think it's these wires, Paul correct me if I'm wrong, these are for the keyless part, which obviously we've got rid of, we don't need it, and it's very similar to KTM, but that was the only wiring diagram we've got. So what we've basically done, we've took the immobiliser off these ECUs, which pretty straightforward. Whilst doing that, we realised that this car had already got a tune, but it was the mildest tune ever. 1% extra boost, 6% extra fuel. So I think whoever tuned it didn't really have an idea what they were tuning. They've just moved a few values and hope for the best. But what Paul's done here, he's done it without any wiring diagram. So when he was looking at how we wired the City Go up, it sounds a bit daft, but the 2 litres tag a lot more into the engine side, the car side of the loom, whereas this engine loom pretty much is self-contained to this fuse board, all this wiring that all goes around the engine. And then literally we've got the CAN buses not connected to the rest of the car, that's what these are for. We've just literally got CAN bus and K line going to the, that's power that, sorry. In fact, no K line. We've just got CAN bus going to the OBD port, which this works we've got about 8 faults or something like that. But the main thing, this is our ignition switch, and then if I can find it, this goes to our starter motor, which is contained at the engine. There we go. She's alive! So the throttle pedal is on its own separate stuff, and even if it's not, we can wire it up and get to where we want to get. So basically, this at the minute, it looks like it's still all connected to the car, but there's nothing at all connected other than the engine itself. So in theory, we could take this out now, put it on a pallet, and have it running exactly the same. So really happy. Probably 6 or 7 hours worth of work that time. He's messed about doing what he's doing, but we'll get this ripped out, hopefully record some of that, and then we'll decide what we're going to do next and how we're going to do it basically. It is nearly out. The pallet is here. It's not been too bad to do. My only claim to this so far, I've took the arc out and a couple of bolts. I'm just waiting to drop her all down. Not be long.
That was Supreme bolts.
Yeah, it needs cracking off that.
Loose.
Now then.
Right, I'll crack it anyway.
So there's 2.
Yeah. Not much.
Savage this, isn't it?
Yeah, buddy.
So what's that?
Definitely happened.
It's all dropped down. So to go up. Do you think they go up to Eta Matrix then?
Maybe.
It makes more sense, doesn't it? Cause just want some clamps disconnecting.
Yeah.
Go down.
Oh, might be alright.
Come straight off.
Yeah.
So,
Double bolted.
a double bolted Paul.
There we go. I don't know why that's gone that far all of a sudden, but
Some of that rusty. That's it, we're going up then.
yeah.
The engine hasn't started going up yet.
No.
Oh, that's moving.
Ooh. Weird noises.
You try and pull it back on pallet truck a bit. Oh, that were it, weren't it? Something fell off. Oh. So if the engine and the gearbox going together are married, the engine and the car going together, they're married. This is the divorce, isn't it?
Yeah. There we go.
That's it. Easy as that. I didn't even have to do out. Just come straight out.
Just out.
Went out, got me dinner, come back. See ya. Beautiful.
That is a big unit.
It is a big old unit. Gearbox is not as fat as it ought to be.
No.
So what's next job then? We undressing it, take it gearbox off?
Yeah, I think so. We'll just move this out of the way, strip the extra car and then...
Cats are a bit easier to get to when
yeah.
it's like this. We've got that V8 to do in a few weeks, haven't we? So we've got the same job to do on that. They're in a bit of a different place on these, aren't they? A bit further forward.
Yeah.
That pallet truck's doing an 8-wheeler.
It's not right after.
The V12 is out. We've just got to decide what we're going to keep from the car now, and we'll try and get it ready for scrap as soon as. I'd like to take it in the morning, just get it out of the way. So that's another job to do. But as you can see, it's massive and tightly packed. Like, it's not, don't look as bad at this side, so we'll go to the right hand side. But this is obviously the down pipe. It comes out probably, that's like 2¼ inch, maybe 60mm. And it squashes right down to avoid the steering rack and the gearbox and all that sort of stuff. So this is not going to be an easy piece to replace. So we might have to put some squash tubing in there and what have you. But we'll figure that out in a bit. We've got it all as a lump now, so we'll take it off to the fab shop and let them have a look. Might have to make up some jig fixtures and stuff like that to try and make sure the flex is in the right place and stuff. But yeah, it's massive. Paul reckons changing a map sensor on this wouldn't be a nice job. And the empty shudder valve definitely wouldn't be a nice job. I think we're going to flip this to the other side and have that at the front as well. And get the engine further back then. It's out, so we'll keep playing, and if there's anything else interesting, we'll interject if we can.
I feel like I need to record it just in case it goes ping.
Oh, it's suspending that.
Yeah, they're stuck now.
Piece of shit.
It's some proper piss. Oh, I feel like it's. I feel like it. Is it moving or is it just?
I want to get a bigger spot.
So, as a little aside from the V12 going in the Amarok, obviously part of doing this while the engine's out, we're going to make some cat delete pipes, and the DPF deletes look very similar to the V8s and the V10s and stuff, but they're not the same. So we're going to have to make a new DPF delete portion, which that can be quite easily done if you can undo crusty bolts pretty easily. But these are quite easy to fit whilst in the car, so it's not a big deal. This, obviously, totally different. Dan's had a little bit of a chew on even with the engine out, but we have got a lot of people wanting big turbos on these, which means the engine will be out anyway. So, makes sense. But if you look here, we've got sort of like a 2¼ pipe. something like that, and then it squashes down to this tiny little thing here. Obviously this is right-hand drive car, so the steering joint's here. But we're going to have to try and come up with some way of getting it, sneaking it through a bit better route, so we can get a bit bigger pipe, but we're still going to have to squash it. The first people to buy these for the left-hand drive cars might end up having to do a little racing dint in them to get around the steering column. So we'll do it as best we can at that side, but obviously we can't be sure. So we shall see. But we'll leave Dan to do this and we'll come back when we've got something sorted. He's doing the other side first, and then we'll see. But a lot of work, probably a full day's work, if not more, in doing these, jigging them and sorting them. But we need it doing before we can strip this down and start messing about, basically. So I'm going to give this to Paul, but basically what this is going to be is, it probably only goes on in one specific place somewhere, but this is going to be another lifting eye, because for some reason we've got an eye on each corner at the back but nothing really at the front, and we're going to need to be lifting this in and out, I'm assuming, numerous times. So anyway, I'll give that to Paul and he can finish making that. We'll come back to that later. But the engine, the gearbox, they're not happy with each other, they're finding new people, they're never going to see each other again, and luckily there's no kids involved. We have no idea what this is, but there were lots of water coming out of the bell housing, and then this is definitely oil and water mixture. It's not milkshake. It'd be nice if that were chocomel, but it's not. So this gearbox is going, not interested in that anymore. Something that happened while I weren't here yesterday, which Danny will put up some pictures or his video up or whatever, but Dan sorted the downpipes out. So the cat delete and the DPF delete, which can be fitted individually, will be listed on our website as we speak. So yeah. So the next job now, once Paul's got the lifting eyes sorted, is getting this up and getting the subframe and the engine away from each other, which we know now how we're going to do it if we do this again. We'll basically leave these back bolts in. Thank God that stopped. We'll leave these back bolts in, which means that the engine can stay up, and we'll drop the subframe separately, which I think we'd probably have to disconnect the power steering and stuff like that, but we'll see. But we've got a V8 coming in, so this is all learning. So once we've got that apart, we need to take off the torque converter, which means taking out the starter motor, which we needed to take the starter motor out anyway, so that's not a big deal. And then once we've got that off, I can send them up to Luke, the flex plate and the starter, and then he can make sure that his flywheel arrangement is going to be perfect and get that machined. So I think this video is probably getting long already. We'll probably leave it where we can leave it. Whether we do a few little bits in there at the end of this video or not, we'll see. But this is not far off at the point where we're going to be happy to start taking the engine out of the single cab and getting it thrown in. So we shall see where we end up.
Yeah.